the heart of Sri Lanka, there are two rocks standing side by side. One was built by a king who had everything, but he was living in fear and scarcity. I call it the rock of the ego. The other one was home to monks who apparently had nothing, but they were living in abundance and peace. I call it the rock of the soul. They're only a few hundred meters apart, but they represent two completely different ways to live life. Welcome to Sigiriya. So I guess my next destination for me is gonna be Sigiriya, which is probably one of the main attractions in Sri Lanka, is this massive rock. I double checked with Gemini, and it's not one of the main attractions, it's actually the number one attraction in Sri Lanka. So I definitely have to check it out. It's very popular because of this incredible engineering, and architects still wonder how they were able to build this on top of a rock. But in this video, we're not gonna focus on the architecture, but more on a deeper philosophical meaning. See, what do you sell here? Hello, sir. Nice to meet you. What do you sell here? Banana? Okay. So let's see. Here's some powder, corn flour, badero. In Sri Lanka, you find a bunch of small shops like this on the street that sell fresh fruit and coconut and different kind of things. This is the carpet, pillow cover. This for sleeping. Okay. Banana. It's okay. Yeah. Yes. Are you okay? How much? 100? Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Bye-bye. So I left the temple of Dhammasisila, and while riding, I'm still contemplating all the lessons that I learned. And actually, all those lessons, they're gonna come up again today in Sigiriya, and you're gonna see very soon why. This road is very busy, and all the trucks, they push you on the side, the bus. Riding a Tuk Tuk in Sri Lanka, it's amazing, and I highly recommend everyone to try. You can also find the link down below of Tuk Tuk rental if you're planning to come to Sri Lanka. But you have to be very careful of trucks and buses because they're really wild on the road. And you also have to keep in mind that the Tuk Tuk is pretty slow, so the time that Google Maps tells you, you probably have to double it or sometimes even triple it. So for example, from the temple where I left to Sigiriya, it said 1 hour and a half, 60 kilometers, and now I've been riding for probably like 40 minutes, 45 minutes easily, but it still says 1 hour and 10 minutes, and I've done just 10 kilometers, so man, it's really slow. So I'm thinking I will change the plan. Instead of making it to Sigiriya, because it's already 3:30, I will try to stop in Dambulla and maybe find an accommodation there, and tomorrow try to go to Sigiriya. You have to really adapt all your plans like day by day with a tuk-tuk. But on the road in Sri Lanka, you will never starve because you can find so many different kind of snacks and food and shops and restaurants. This one have eggs and onion and chili inside. This one I think is sweet. Babito, you want some bread? You like it? You like the sandwich? And then I finally made it to my accommodation. Nice to meet you. I like your shirt, Thailand. Nice. Wow, this is nice. Very clean, very modern. How far is Sigiriya from here?
Sigiriya only from here just
With Tuk Tuk?
20 minutes.
20 minutes. Ah.
In Sigiriya have two rocks. One's called Lion Rock, one's called Pidurangala Rock.
Mm-hmm.
Pidurangala Rock is the best one.
Ah, okay.
Because from Pidurangala you can see the view of Lion Rock.
All right. And is one ticket for both or
No.
two separate?
Lion Rock expensive.
Yeah.
About $35.
I heard, yeah. Is it worth it?
Much better you visit the Pidurangala, it's nice.
So there are two rocks right next to each other, Lion Rock and Pidurangala Rock. He's recommending me to go on top of Pidurangala Rock. As I mentioned earlier, we will discover soon that one is the rock of the ego and one is the rock of the soul. 90% of people actually visit the Lion Rock, which is much more interesting, but this time I will go to the less popular rock. Wow. Sri Lankan breakfast.
Sri Lanka, also traditional.
Nice. A lot of toast. That's how you eat in the morning too, your family?
Normally Sri Lankan people eat in rice and curry.
Rice and curry. Before we go, I have to check the oil in the Tuk Tuk because I'm supposed to check it every day and add it a little bit. This is a 200cc engine. I think it's okay. Let's go! So in just 20 minutes I arrived to Sigiriya. Sigiriya is a small town but it's extremely touristic due to the two rocks. So you have a lot of hostels, luxury hotels, guest houses, restaurants, shops, everything is for the tourists. We made it, guys. This is one of the two rocks. The surrounding area is spectacular. It's a 5,000 acres natural reserve, and here you can find a lot of wildlife and especially elephants. Driving around with your own transportation, it's really cool, especially with the Tuk Tuk, because you can take so many roads all around the natural reserve. But of course, you have to be careful. Actually, the monk where I stayed in the monastery 2 days ago told me that just 3 days ago, so the day before, one foreigner died here in Sigiriya because of an elephant attack. So it's a real thing, you know. So I think it's time to tell you the full story of these two rocks because it's very interesting. I just spent 3 days in a monastery and the monk Dhammasisila showed me 33 ancient caves, and monks have been living here for more than 2,500 years. Sri Lanka is full of caves and monasteries like this, especially in this area, and Sigiriya was no different. 2,500 years ago, monks were living here on this rock and all around the rock, so it was a very sacred place. But this unfortunately didn't last very long, because in 477 AD, so about 1,500 years ago, the chaos began. So today I decided to climb this rock. As I said, there are two main rocks, and this rock is called Pidurangala, and out of the two that I mentioned earlier, one is the ego and the war, the other one is the soul and the peace. This one is the soul and the peace, and very soon I will explain you why. The capital of Sri Lanka at that time was Anuradhapura, and the king was Dhatusena. He had different sons, but the first son, Prince Kashyapa, unfortunately was born from a different wife, not from the royal wife, so he will never become the king. So he decided to kill his father so he could become the king. The army commander was on his side, so he helped him to kill his father, and they walled him alive inside a dam. That was pretty harsh. So he immediately became the new king and he ran away from the capital looking for a new place to build his empire. But as you can imagine, his brother, the real successor actually, was not so happy about that. So King Kashyapa with his army found this rock which was perfect to hide and to protect himself from his brother. And that was Sigiriya Rock. But as we said earlier, at that time Sigiriya Rock was occupied by the monks, so it was a very peaceful environment. And they've been living here for more than 1000 years. So the new king went there and basically forced the monks to move away.
So basically King Kashyapa then moved the entire monastery and monks from that rock to that rock, so he can have a free space and he can build his own palace, his own castle, and protect himself on top of the rock.
So all the monks moved there and he was finally able to occupy the Sigiriya Rock and build his own palace on top of it. As of today, what he built on top of Sigiriya is still an engineering and architecture mystery, because that was 1500 years ago and it was so hard to build a city basically on top of a rock. I recommend you to watch other videos about the archaeological part of Sigiriya because it's very, very fascinating. But what he built was not just a palace, was actually a protection from his own guilt and fear from his brother. So the Sigiriya Rock, which then became the Lion Rock because he built this massive lion gate at the entrance, was a monument of power, of ego, and of fear. And talking about fear, King Kashyapa couldn't relax the entire time because he was terrified that at any moment his brother could come and could kill him and just destroy everything.
So now it started to rain heavily, and to go on top there is actually a line because there is like a traffic jam and they don't allow many people, so everybody's stuck there in order to get to the top. Plus it's raining. Very brave. Like a rock climber. Man, he's busy. Such a big line to go up. And the line continues all the way.
As I told you, I'm not at the Lion Rock, but I'm in the rock where King Kashyapa moved all the monks, so next to it. And do you see this beautiful reclining Buddha right under the rock? This was actually built by King Kashyapa in order to move the monk to the next rock. So far the plan of King Kashyapa seemed pretty successful, right? He killed his father, he became a king, he moved to Sigiriya, he built a palace, he moved the monks, he built them like temples and monasteries and Buddhas. But as we said, he was terrified to lose his power, to lose his control, to lose his dominance, and in particular he was very scared to be found and to be killed by his brother. And that's exactly what happened. One day his brother came with an army and faced King Kashyapa, and he lost right away, and instead of being killed by his brother, he decided to take his own life. His sky palace on Lion Rock and his empire just lasted 18 years. Yes, 1-8.
Oh wow. Ooh. the rock is massive. It goes all the way down there, and as you can see, there are monkeys around.
So what we can learn from this story: acting out of ego, arrogance, control, greed, fear creates negative karma in our life. Same as it happened to King Kashyapa. We might be winning in the short term, but we will pay the consequences in the long term. We are probably not as extreme as King Kashyapa, but we all have an ego. But we also have a soul and a heart, and we can choose every single day which one to control and guide our life.
And it's so interesting because the entrance to this rock costs 1,000 rupee, which is $3, while the entrance to Sigiriya is 10 times more, is $35. And this is a great reminder also from what Dhammasisila was telling me the other day, that if you live like a monastic life, if you live like a simple life, a life aligned with your soul, it's not that expensive, it's simple, it's cheap, and you don't need that much. Same as the entrance of this rock. But if you live following your ego, your cravings, your desire, it's never enough. You always want more. Maybe $500 is not enough, $1,000 is not enough per month, maybe 10,000 is not enough, and then 100,000. There is never an end to the ego, desire, and craving, and there is always like competition. It always wants to acquire more and more. And I think that the entrance fee of that rock, the ego rock, and this rock, the soul rock, it's an interesting metaphor between the cost of living and also the entry ticket.
Unfortunately, after 1,500 years, we still haven't learned much. Here we are in 2026, being completely dominated by ego, by greed, by power, by control. I don't see much difference between this and this. When people and leaders and countries are dominated by the ego, they want to expand, they want to dominate, they want to control. And this is the result.
Man, that was definitely like a wild climb. No safety, no security, no staff, like nothing. You're just left on your own, and it was intense, especially for the crowd, because there is only one way to go up and one way to go down, and it's very narrow. So you have to wait the people, and then you have to ask them to stop so you can pass. So it was complete chaos. But I'm glad at the end I made it to the top. I almost gave up when it started to rain. I was like, man, I cannot handle this crowd and rain and everything. I'm glad that then the rain stopped and also less people came up, so I was able to wait a little bit in line and then make it to the top, to the rock of the soul, the rock of the peace.
Monk Dhammasisila comes to my mind. I was there just a couple of days ago, but now I'm really thinking how he transitioned from being in the army at 21 years old to becoming a monk and live in a monastery. So he basically chose peace over war, and he chose to live with his soul instead of his ego. And this perfectly represents what I'm experiencing today in Sigiriya.
Just riding around the Sigiriya rock, and an interesting fact is that there is this moat all around the rock that the king built in order to protect himself, to be on top of the rock so the invaders cannot get closer to the rock. And the story, let me show it to you. And the story says that back then the king, he filled this moat full of crocodiles. So the invaders and the people cannot even try to cross or to swim because they will be eaten alive by the crocodiles. As you can imagine, this area, it's massive. All around the rocks is full of these beautiful stupas and temples and stones. So it's like an open air archaeological site. Look at this. These are like 1,500 years old, or even older than that. And from the Sigiriya and Pidurangala rocks, I'm going to end the video here, guys. I hope you enjoyed this little historical and archaeological and natural exploration as well. I found it very fascinating when I learned about the story of these two rocks, especially about the kings that killed his father and then he kind of escaped and hid himself on top of the rock and built a castle and protected himself with so many things, and still he just ruled for 18 years. And then when I learned about the other rocks where the monastery was built, where the monks moved from one rock to another rock, and it was a very meaningful and powerful lesson that I thought it would be interesting to share while showing you also this interesting and fascinating part of Sri Lanka. This is one of the main attractions, so for sure you will find a lot of tourists. Maybe you didn't see so many of them in this video, but if you come here you'll find a bunch of them, a bunch of us. I'm one of the tourists. It's definitely one of the must-see places in Sri Lanka. And yeah, I thought instead of just showing you the rock, to make it a bit more meaningful and to really notice the difference of when we act out of ego, out of wanting to control things, out of fear as well, wanting to fight and get more things and really feed our cravings, and when instead we act out of our soul, of our heart, and maybe we don't need much, we just accept like a simple living. We let go of as many attachment as possible. We learn to be simple, we learn to be humble, we learn to reconnect with nature and to learn the rhythm of nature and to live aligned with the rhythm of nature. And this is also the path of peace, the path of freedom. So those two rocks are interesting contrast. Even though they are two beautiful natural masterpieces, they represent two very different things. Alright guys, a big hug from Sri Lanka, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.